So hi guys. I know this might seem a bit odd because I tend to do Q&As, questiony videos every now and then, but I recently saw a couple of videos from people who did, more deeper, more personal questions than just art questions because I tend to get a lot of art questions, which there's never anything wrong with that. By the way, speaking of art questions, I will link my DeviantArt FAQ down below. I update it every now and then when I get like a consistent amount of the same questions, so it's a nice little place you can go and see. But yeah, I just want to get into this. Also, I do want to say I'm recording this audio in advance as like backup audio, so I don't know exactly when it's gonna go up. So if I sound different, or things have changed. I don't think things are going to change from the questions I like researched down and got compared to some people. But yeah, let's just get started. So this is in no order. So there's art questions in here, personal questions, political questions, deep questions. It's an overall, weird Q&A, and I don't believe I've answered these before, or if I have, I never did in depth. So let's just get started. So the first one is actually an artist question, and it is, why are you okay with sharing your suppliers? So this question has to do with merch, because I am very open with where I get my stuff. Because before I go into this little mini rant, because this really doesn't deserve its own video, it's just a little thing I've always felt. I actually hate the mentality of, oh, well, if I let people know about my supplier, then they're gonna get big and I won't be able to abuse their cheap prices anymore. When, I don't know, to me, I've always felt, being technically a small business owner, I would rather help support a company get bigger. Again, I'm very much, people might think I'm being paid by them. I'm not. I'm a huge supporter of Zap Creatives because they started off hella small, and now they even have like a United States chapter, and they keep growing, and they're adding more stuff to their repertoire because more people are using it, and they can pay people proper jobs, and we can still get really fair, prices on merch that most likely are not made in sweatshops. And that is really dark to say, but I know that to be fact. A lot of the really, really, really cheap suppliers, if you're not doing big bulk orders, are usually being met by people who are being very much abused, who are making your charms, stickers, merchandise for cents on the hour. And that's a big thing that people don't like talking about, and I don't like supporting those people because I don't think it's right. And to some people, they just see it as, well, you're making more profit, so it's okay. And I don't think it's okay. So another reason why I don't really care about sharing my suppliers and giving positive or negative reviews and instances is because, well, I've been screwed over in the past, and I learned from it. And I've always been a very firm believer in, well, if I can help someone from making the same mistakes I did, I would rather that be the case, because I was out a lot of money at some points, and there were other times where I nearly gave up an endeavor of being an artist completely because of investing in the wrong things, because of people just not wanting to share their own advice. So this isn't a like, oh, I'm special, I like sharing. It's a, I don't like having people be screwed over because I was screwed over. And I like to learn from my mistakes and help people learn from my own mistakes. See any of my story times or rambles for those instances. So that's why I have no fear in sharing my suppliers. I have no shame in saying, yeah, I bought a $200 button maker on Amazon. I bought about 1,000 button parts for less than $1,000. So that's not even $1 a button to get made. So if I sell a button for $1, I'm already making a profit. By the way, that is back when I had my tinier buttons. Now I do have 2 inches, so it's more than $1, but you get what I'm saying. Same with going out of my way to get like sticker suppliers and branching out. I have no shame in that because, now that I do this and I like supporting other people, I know that it probably cost the artist cents on the dollar to get this item made. I'm getting it because I like the art and the artist, not the like quality of the item. Granted, I do want a nicer quality item, but that's how I feel about that. So I know other artists have openly shared they do not like that I talk about it and that I share it. And yeah, they can suck it because I don't care. If that means that you don't want to work with me because I don't mind younger, naive artists or people starting out from getting screwed over, well, then to me, you're a terrible person. So there we go. Clap back. We're starting off strong, getting people to hate me because I just don't think that's right. So the next question is, would you ever do YouTube full time? No. Flat out, no. YouTube is not reliable at all. And there was a time when I was making some pretty good money off of YouTube, and then that tanked, and I was dumb. This was me dumb, not YouTube dumb, so don't do that. Where I started to rely on my YouTube checks, where I was like, well, I'm making this much, but I'm also making this much, so. And that ended up blowing up in my face, and I have not made that much money since. And, I was so great for that to happen, but YouTube has definitely gone back to a hobby, and it's going to stay that way, as well as a really great way to advertise. That wasn't actually my intention. I like listening to YouTube. I like making content that I myself would listen to, and I would have liked to listen to when I was younger and stuff. So hence why I make my videos. And to me, it's a hobby that I make a little bit more money off of. I make literally the majority of my income off of Patreon, my sales in my store, conventions, commissions, and other side jobs that I do here and there, because my husband and I are in the same belief of, it's like, hey, you want to watch my dog for $300 on one weekend? Why not? Or whatever. That's a lot for a weekend, but you get what I'm saying. It's like, oh, I've got no problem doing that, or watching someone's kid, or doing odd jobs in general, if, it's easy and it doesn't get into my time. So no, I don't think I'd ever do YouTube full time. Another real reason for that too is that I don't want to get burnt out on YouTube. There have been times where I have literally no idea for like audio or backup footage or anything, and then I'm just like, oh, what do I do here? And then sometimes I'll just throw up a speed paint, because I still like seeing speed paints, even though those get no views and little to no money. It's still something that's there, and I like doing it because I like being active, and I like you guys. I like talking with you guys, and like when I get to interact with you guys and see you guys at conventions and stuff, it really is a big deal that like I made an impact on somebody. So yeah, even if I made a lot of money off of YouTube, I would never do it full time. I'd never, even if it was the most money I was making, I would probably follow how a couple of other YouTubers do it, where they have like, yeah, they make a lot of money off of YouTube, if that were to ever come for me, but they also have like their other jobs and ventures to, help supplement it. Because I just think that's smart, because technically YouTube doesn't owe us money, and YouTube isn't the one paying us. It's Google AdSense. So technically Google is paying us, not YouTube. But there's that, and also there's no tea or no shade for people who do YouTube full time. I just, with how unstable it is and how this past year has been for me, perfect example, I was making a lot of money off of it, and now I'm barely making any money off of it, to where it hasn't been like, oh, well, I don't want to make videos anymore. It's just been like, okay, I can't rely on it anymore, and I'd rather it happen now than happen when I could be making thousands of dollars like some people do. So I should also say I've never made $1,000 on YouTube, so don't think that. So, all right, my next question. What was the meanest thing people have ever said about you online? Okay, so we're gonna get deep here. Here we go with the deep questions. So, I don't actually get a lot of hate comments and stuff, but one day, I guess I'll say this here. I've said it before, but I do not have a Reddit or a Snapchat, nor will I be making any. So if you see any that are claiming to be me, as in me, Michelle Marquez, Michie, TwistedDisaster, Twisted Michie, that ain't me. So there you go. I'm openly admitting here, and I have no plans in the future, because I hate Reddit's format and I hate Snapchat's format. So I have literally no desire at all to make them. But I randomly had some people asking me about it, so I randomly like Googled myself, and I ended up finding myself in like this was a while ago, but I ended up finding myself in like a YouTube artist hate Reddit thread. And I remember being very confused because I didn't see any of my stuff in it. I was seeing them talk about other people, and I'm like, why did this show up on Google? But then I ended up scrolling and I was there eventually. And some of the stuff people were saying, the only one that stuck out to me a lot, which hit me to the core, were two things. And it was one, that when the terrible stuff that happened to us last year, when we were without a home and we were given little to no time to try to find a place to live and sleep, people can debate me on that all the time, but that's what happened. I had people think that Cody and I, my husband and I, were on welfare, and that neither of us had jobs, when that wasn't the case. We both had jobs, but a lot of you guys know, it costs a lot to live in the state we live in, and we can't just leave. That was something a lot of people were also saying, is that we could just leave. You can't just leave somewhere. Not realistically, if you have nowhere else to go. So that really hit me. That hit me hard because I'd never claimed I was on welfare or we were on welfare. In fact, I've openly said that we've never been on it, and I've openly said how I hate people who use and abuse the welfare system, because it is there to help people instead of people milking it for everything it's got. When they are totally able-bodied people, they're just terrible. So there was that. And then the other one that really got under my skin was when people were claiming that the GoFundMe money for our wedding, because if you guys are new here, we had financial issues last year, again at the time of recording this, in 2018, and I made a GoFundMe for our wedding, and we did not hit the goal. We didn't even get close to the goal, but we did get a decent amount, and because we got that decent amount, it actually caused people in our lives who had money to suddenly start caring, because their exact words to Cody and I were, well, if random people on the internet are helping, maybe we should too. And that stung a lot, and I don't know if I was open about talking about that. I've also had a lot of issues with my family and my extended family, in the past. Things are better now, but obviously, forgive but don't forget kind of situation. But with all of that happening, people were claiming that I used that money to buy chinchillas, which I had both of them before my financial issues and before Cody and I were even living together. And sadly, my oldest chinchilla, Cheshire, passed away in Christmas of 2018. But when I saw that, it actually made me really upset, because I've also openly hated people who, they make a thing claiming it's something and they use the money for something else. So no, the money that was donated for the wedding GoFundMe was completely gone to the wedding. We didn't spend any of it on ourselves. It was all in the wedding and the things that we needed to have the wedding. And because of you guys, and because of you guys being so grateful and generous, we actually had other people, come out of the woodwork. It's kind of BS that, it took, again, like they said, it took random people on the internet caring for them to care. But my wedding was one of the best days of my life, and it is still one of the best days remembering of my life. And so I'm very grateful for that. But just the thought that these people were thinking that I spent the money on chinchillas, which, if you did even a little bit of research, I think that's the biggest issue. Is I'm a big fan of doing research on things, before I form a very strong opinion, like hating someone. And if you just did a very easy search of my DeviantArt gallery, you would have known that I've had my chinchillas since way before 2013. Before I was even big on YouTube, or I'm not even that big, but it was just one of those things that was very irritating. So those did get under my skin. And now that I've said it, people probably say more about it. But something I guess I should say is the basic questions that don't tend to get under my skin, because I think it's low-hanging fruit, but I do know it gets under other people's skin, is when I'm making an opinion video or a talking video or something where I openly state it's an opinion or a topic or something, when people bring my weight into discussion. If you don't know, I'm fat. I'm working on losing weight, and I am doing better at, losing weight and making healthier choices. But to me, it always seems like the lowest hanging fruit, that you can't think of a proper, rebuttal to my argument, that you're just like, well, you're fat. Well, you can get a real job. Always seems kind of dumb, in my opinion. Same thing goes for when I'd have some people who would tell me that, oh, I really like your opinions and your videos, but I hate your art. I think your art's terrible. It's like, okay, I mean, I get it. I know my art isn't for everybody, but was that necessary? What is positive or criticism in that sense? Another thing is, a couple of people have said, this isn't exactly a pet peeve, it's just something I want to point out. When people properly critique my work, I have no problem taking critiques. In fact, I openly request critiques half the time. I also request, that I admit when my art isn't perfect. I admit when I make mistakes, and I admit that I'm still learning, because I think that art is something that's always evolving and changing, and obviously it sounds like I'm getting a little defensive here, but one thing I don't like is when people claim something is, well, that looks ugly, or that is off, or why'd you do that, isn't exactly constructive criticism or even proper criticism. It's just stating a fact, and it's not really helping anybody. And the whole point of critiques and criticism is to help an artist grow so you can fix your mistakes. But those are a couple of things that don't really, like I said, they don't get under my skin. They're just like, I get them and I'm just kind of like, okay, why? Like, what was that? Why was that necessary? But whew, there we go. It's already getting pretty long. All right, I didn't even have that many questions, so this is getting deep. Here's an easier, shorter one. What are your political views? So I am very much in the middle with liberal leaning. Like I lean liberal, but I'm not full liberal. I'm not full Republican. I do consider myself in the middle. Same, because I feel like there's crazies on both sides if you go to the extremes on either side, and I think there's a lot more people who are more middle. You know, there are many Democrats who voted for Republicans who voted for Democrats, people who like, well, I voted for a Republican, but I wanted these Democrat. Like, it's pretty normal to be, you know, a good gray instead of a black or a white. That's how I've always felt. It's same with the whole, like, which country would you move to if you could? Honestly, I would stay here, only because no country is perfect. Every country has its issues and its strengths, you know? And so there's that. That was a very short, easy, simple one. There you go. But I'm not a fence sitter. I guess I should say that, because a lot of people who are like in the middle leaning, they tend to be a fence sitter. I am not a fence sitter. As you guys know, I do have pretty strong opinions on certain things, but I also try to keep politics out of my videos as much as I can. Obviously, this is a deeper question kind of video, hence why I shared it, and I don't have no shame in it. Let's see. The next question. Oh, another deep one. How do you feel about the LGBTQIA plus whatever it is now? As a part of the community, I am bisexual. Some people debate that they're not allowed to be in there. I don't care. Again, kind of thing with politics. I like to consider it the same thing. As long as you're not an asshole, I don't care. Because a lot of people don't know there are LGBT people who can be assholes and terrible people. And LGBT, as well as straight people who can be assholes. And, you know, it's like, it always takes a jerk to ruin it for somebody. So I just am the firm belief of, if you're not an asshole, I don't care. Be nice. That's how I feel, you know, just don't be a dick. Let's see. Next question. Do your YouTube goals ever get in the way of your career? No, I don't think so. If you guys know or didn't know, I'm also an author, and I was going to have my first book. I was going to have the Kickstarter up, actually I wanted to have it in October, but due to life things with myself and my editor, it's not going to happen. It's going to most likely happen next year. It sucks, but my stories and my my writing, my literature, I do not get paid for. I get actually zero money for it, so that's definitely something that is also a hobby and I want to get done. And it's not because of YouTube, but just that both of our lives we had a lot of rough patches this year, so I didn't need that extra stress, and neither did my editor, so it wasn't a big deal. I know people were looking forward to it. It's still happening, because I actually did physically write it all out in a notebook. You guys know if you can hear that, I like my paper, but I haven't actually typed it out yet. So plans of doing that. But as for that, no, not in my normal art career. Not so much YouTube, but over the summer, I took on way more than I could chew. I was actually working with an indie game dev for an app game that is no longer happening, and I can't share the art for that, so that sucks. But I haven't talked a lot about that because I legally can't. That much I can say. I haven't double checked with my lawyer. I can say that I was working with an indie dev to work on an app game. I did all the assets for it. I had to work on that over the summer, and didn't end up going anywhere. I did get paid, but that sucks that I can't put it in my portfolio or anything. I was working on that. I was working on a lot of zine stuff. I was working on, obviously, YouTube stuff and merchandising stuff for my store, to where I made constant updates on my DeviantArt, Twitter, and YouTube, and Instagram, and everything. That's why I actually say to follow me on my other social medias. I do my best to keep my commissioners, my clients, very up to date, and I am very, very lucky that they are very understanding. But I am working on them more. I've been doing more live streams. I'm getting that done. And now I am only focusing on just commissions right now and Patreon things, because patrons, they do pay me every month. So with that, I'm doing that. And then with YouTube, I just do what I tend to do. I have this, I get inspired for audio. I record the audio, and then I slap a random speed paint in the background. But if I also have like a thing in mind for something that I want to do, I will do it. But also for like YouTube series, I don't really do that many series. I want to, but again, it's one of those things where for those, that's definitely a hobby thing, and I would rather a series fall apart than a commissioner, end up not getting a decent job, because one obviously pays more than the other and I have to focus on my job over than my hobby. So no, I don't think YouTube is that way for me. But some people can debate that. At least to me, that's how I see it. All right. Let's see. Would you ever want to adopt a child over having your own? You've talked about how you want to be a mother and actually that is something Cody and I have talked about. Obviously it would not be for a long time. I am also a firm believer in, I don't think it is selfish that, with the financial status we're in right now, I don't think it's selfish that I want my child to have their own bedroom. Obviously, things happen. People don't get that luxury, which I hate to say it is a luxury, not everybody's financially stable. Not everybody can afford this and that. Not many people are in a good enough, environment to do that. And they have to, share a house or share a room or whatever with people and their kids. But I am very lucky that we are not like that, and we are very safe, so we don't have to worry about that happening. And so until we can move to where our future offspring can have a bedroom, that's when we're going to start thinking about it. We've talked about it. We also have a lot of medical issues that run in both of our families, and so it's also one of those things where do we want to pass these genes onto a kid? Because my family has a lot of mental health issues. Cody's family has mental health issues and physical issues. Oh, and I saying cancer runs in my mom's side of the family too. So it's one of those things where you have to think about it. And I think we live in a day and age where you can afford to think about it. Again, people can fight me. I actually, TMI, I have a latex allergy, so you can get condoms if you have a latex allergy. So that's always something that's bothered me, and they're not that much more expensive than a normal condom, so obviously condoms fail, but no. There are many ways now that are really cheap for you to avoid having pregnancies. Obviously, oopsies happen, but we also have ways to fix those measures as well. Obviously, I'm very pro-choice, but yeah. So we also know that there are a lot of kids in the adoption system that get, thrown under the ring or get, just lost in the network. And I don't think that's right either. So, who knows, when the time comes and we're a little older, maybe we will adopt and not have our own gremlins that are, our flesh and blood, but they would still be our gremlins because we wouldn't think anything like that. Especially with Cody's upbringing. Cody has his biological dad and his other dad because they both raised him together. So to us, blood isn't that big of a deal. So yeah, there's that. So hope that answered your question for that. Let's see. Next question: how do you and Cody work out so well? So Cody's my husband. We have been together. This will be 11 years, and our 1-year wedding anniversary. We got married 10 years being together. And I think a big reason for why we work out so well, we've done this, we've done couple QnAs and stuff like that. We probably will more in the future. And he's been on my channel a few times. He's also on the vlog channel, very obviously. But a big thing was we were together since high school, and we had a lot of rough patches. But we both were very lucky, and I think a very important thing, I learned about this in psychology as well. When you're in a relationship, when you have a power dynamic, you need to make sure that you are on, a good metaphor is with stairs. So you need to each take steps at the same time, so you're going to the same destination at the same pace. But there's also never anything wrong if you are one step above or one step below, but you never want to be more than that one step. And I would believe, even though, again, I have no shame in this, even though my husband makes more money than me, we both consider our money. So my income is his income and his income is my income. It's very combined. But even though when he was making a lot more money than me, when I was doing my part-time jobs and stuff, that was never an issue. It was always I still paid for things, he still paid for things, I never thought of him better than me, and he never thought of myself, because I was self-employed, better than himself. To us, it was both different fields with different pays and just different lives, and so we would, grow with that. And there were times where obviously we were a step ahead or a step behind, but we never went farther than that, and we also never had, even in our worst, most stressful times, we never had a like thought of breaking up or this is it or why are we here. It was always a like, well, how do we fix this? How do we get out of this situation? You know, what do we do to change this? And that's kind of how we always have been. We've always also, another big thing is we've always talked out our fights. We have never let anything fester. If we're having a fight, we will stop what we're doing and we will have the fight and we will talk it out. Whether it's 5 minutes or 4 hours, we do it in that one thing because we are both in the same mindset of you need to get it done, let the air rest, let us relax, and then it's done. And that's usually always helped too. So that's a very quick summary, but I think that's why we worked out so well. We also matured at the same time because we're also what am I saying, in the same age? We are the same age. Both of our birthdays are in November. Cody is just 12 days older than I am. So that's another thing that helped a lot, is being the same age, you know, and being at things nearly the same time. So there's that. I hope that question helped you guys out. But yeah, we weren't always sunshine and rainbows. Even now we're not sunshine and rainbows, you know. But the good always did outweigh the bad. That's another thing that's important. Let's see. Next question. How are you doing this summer? This summer seemed hard. Oh yeah, okay. So the summer of 2019 was one of the hardest, not the hardest. No, that was definitely last year. But it was one of the hardest, and I realized because my depression had come back, and I actually hadn't had depression since we had, you know, gotten our own place and everything had happened. So that was hard. It also didn't help that for the first time, again, I'm very transparent about this. For me, summers were always my most lucrative months, even back before YouTube. I always made the most money in the summertime, when I know for most people it's dead months. And over the summer is actually when my YouTube channel first blew up and everything, and things were going out. And so this summer, the fact that I was working, I would realistically say 4 times as hard for nearly half the pay, really messed me up mentally. But I was also very grateful that even though we had a very hard time, and we had our instances, we had a little emergency where Binks had to go to like an emergency vet, and he was fine for that. But we are very grateful that this is also the first summer that neither of us had heat exhaustion. For the past, I would say 4 summers besides this summer, you know, we were able to not afford and or be in a place where we had air conditioning when we live in California and it gets really hot. So just being able to, even though funds were tight, just being able to afford having air conditioning and both of us being physically better, even if mentally we were a little okay and strained. It was hard, but it also did help me learn. And this is also something that I could, no, I don't want to make a whole video on it. I might, who knows. But I'm also, because of what happened this summer, I learned that if things don't change, I'm going to be looking for part-time work on top of doing this. I've never been ashamed of that. A lot of people seem to be shamed by it. But I am very lucky, and I will admit this is lucky, that I am in a position where I can be picky with where I apply to. So, you know, it has to be part-time so I can still do everything I do now, but it also has to be enough part-time that I make enough to afford the gas to do it instead of just doing this. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm looking for that. And, you know, that way when the summer happens again, I will have a bit more of a safety net. We'll have a bit more of a safety net. Because it was also hard on him too. Cody was getting a lot less hours than normal over the summer. So like I said, it was hard, but we made it through. And again, it was my own fault for taking on way more than I can chew. I openly admitted that I did that, and I messed up. I made an oopsie, and I'm not going to do that again. And so, yeah, but thank you for worrying. I didn't mean to scare you guys, but that's just something I learned about the summer. So let's see. Next question, and then I have one after that. And this one should be easy. Would you ever go back to school? This means college. I want to. But obviously, I don't want to get a job. I want to better myself because I am very pro-education. My husband is now a teacher. You know, I worked in the teaching field for a bit while I wasn't a teacher. I wanted to be a teacher, and I was a teacher's aide. So I do want to. I want to better myself in ways that, like, you just can't online. I am actually a believer that there are some things that are better that you get out of your house and get out of your comfort zone, and by force, sometimes it is necessary. And so with that, I do want that, but obviously I can't really afford it right now. And I might take a couple classes here and there just to better myself and do things like that. But again, I'm not doing it with the mindset of once I get my degree, I'm now gonna have a great job, because that's just not how the world works anymore. So, but yeah, pro school, but I'm also not gonna get in debt about it. So now, here is the last deep question, and it is: do you ever regret getting on YouTube, making videos where you talk instead of just speed paints? No. I loved it because it was probably the best thing for me. Closing my paper ASMR notebook. It was one of the best things for me mentally. I met some of my best friends now because of it. It is also a great way to network. It is a great way to, talk to, like-minded people, and also have debates with people who don't agree with you. I love YouTube, even with its ups and downs and its terrible stuff. I think I will always love YouTube. And I will keep making videos as long as it is still fun for me. But whenever the day comes, if it comes, and I hope it never does, of, it being to where making a YouTube video literally angers me or upsets me, or I feel like, well, I have to do it, I think I won't do it anymore, obviously. But yeah, I have no regrets in doing it. There were things I'm actually happy about waiting to, because when I was younger, like when I was in my college days and when I was a lot more ignorant, it's almost like people can change over time. I'm very happy I never made topic videos, because I do admit that there were things I used to think of when I was in high school and in early college that I was so ill-informed on, I was so naive on, and I have a feeling, because especially back then, those would have gotten the most views, so I would have gotten a pretty big following. Not to be cocky, that's just kind of how it was. And then I would have that stuff following me forever, when obviously I've changed, I've grown. I like to think that even though I have my grammar mistakes and I mess up and I do stumble over my words sometimes, I will admit when I'm wrong. I will admit when I'm proven wrong. I admit when something is very much emotional based over fact based, and that I'm growing and changing all the time. And who knows, in 10 years, my opinions and stuff might change too. That's just kind of how it is. So there are my deep and personal questions. If you have any other FAQs, like I said, I'll have the link in the description below. By the way, you don't have to have a DeviantArt just to click it and look at it. Obviously, to comment on it, to like add to it, would you do. But all my other social medias are in my link tree down below. I make new videos every Wednesday, unless I'm too stressed out, which I will update you guys obviously on if you do follow me on my social medias. So I hope you enjoyed these deep thoughts. And as always, guys, I will. See you next time. Bye.